Travel back in time to the 80s, reliving the advice.
Carpe diem. Seize the day.
The comebacks.
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer.
And the technology.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
Because just like you, we're stuck in the 80s.
Can you say stuck in the 80s?
Hey, welcome to Stuck in the 80s. It's your host, Steve Spears.
And B-Rad.
And today we turn the clock back nearly 4 decades to rediscover the hits from 1980 that we've sadly forgotten.
2 simple words in the English language. I forgot.
Don't forget, Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Podcast Network. You can find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and the CLNS Media mobile app.
And as always, the CLNS Media website has launched at clnsmedia.com. clnsmedia.com is the home of this podcast and 40 other podcasts and vidcasts in the world of sports, finance, and comedy. I don't know if we're considered the comedy show, but we're funnier than Tom Hanks was in the movie Punchline.
I'm not going to kid around with you people. This is a heavy night. This is a real heavy night. I thought I was going to get discovered tonight. And that is exactly what happened. I did.
Steve, joining us today, a guest host that needs no introduction. So I won't. Hi, Jen.
Hey. Hi, people.
Cool. We need you because we're going to cover a lot of territory.
Yeah.
And a lot of music rediscovery is going to happen, and we need you to lead us on the way.
Let's do this.
It gets tiresome just having me and Steve bat songs back and forth, like so much verbal tennis.
Yes. I do love tennis, though. So let me explain the context of this new series. We hope this will be a series. That's the goal here. In the past, we've done stuff like horrible hits of the 80s and one-hit wonders. We're trying to go back now in time, and we're going to look at the Billboard Hot 100 chart for the year end for each year of the 80s, and we're going to find those songs that were hits. They were hits, but we just don't name check them anymore, and they don't get played on retro radio anymore. Some of these songs we'll talk about today, maybe you've never even heard of. I know there's a couple on your all's list I didn't hear until today for the first time. But we're going to tell you a little bit about them, and we're going to have some fun. And the important thing is we're not going to talk about like the really obvious songs. 1980 had some really big hits. You had Olivia Newton-John with Magic on the Xanadu soundtrack, Rock With You by Michael Jackson, Crazy Little Thing Called Love by Queen, stuff like that. Those are not going to be our picks. We're going to go a little deeper and have a little fun while we're at it. Work for everybody?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm down. Let's make it happen.
Brad, you're up first.
Steve, I'm going to lead with a song that I had not thought about until I looked at this list. And then when I listened to it, I'm like, this is a really fun song. I really like it. I give you Breakdown Dead Ahead by Boz Scaggs.
Bingo. Number 1 on my list of songs I never heard before today.
So this is the lead single from his 9th album. Oh my gosh, this guy was cranking out music. Middleman, which was released in March 1980. And this song went all the way to 15 in the charts in May. So it was kind of an early summer hit. It was co-written by Boz Scaggs and a guy you might have heard of, David Foster.
Oh, yeah.
And the lineup on this album is unbelievable. It is just like the cream of the crop of LA session musicians. You had like 2/3 of Toto in there. You had Steve Lukather, David Hungate, and Lenny Castro on guitar, bass, and percussion in that order. Rick Marotta and Don Grolnick, who had both played with Steely Dan.
You don't need to know how to play. Who are you, Steely Dan?
And a ton of other things on drums and keyboards. And, just because he co-wrote the song, David Foster also plays keyboards on this.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this would be considered country western, right? Pretty firmly, or no?
No.
Like,
no. I think Boz Scaggs, are we allowed to use the phrase blue-eyed soul? Is that just not done anymore? That's kind of what it is. Most of us, and I think why this stands out in the Boz Scaggs catalog is it's a little more rockin'.
Okay, gotcha. I was just remembering when there was that era of crossover country, with your Eddie's Rabbit, and Crystal Gale and all that stuff.
Kenny's.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and it's funny because 1980 was a big year for that too. There was a lot of big, huge crossover country hits, but
a lot of country in the charts.
Okay,
Jen, you're up next.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the song that we opened the show with. I'm Coming Out by Miss Diana Ross.
I'm spreading love, there is no need to fear, and I just feel so good every time I hear I'm coming out. I want the world to know, I got to let it show. I'm coming out, I want the world to know, got to let it show. I'm
I love this song, and I especially love the beginning of this song. And it makes me curious if it was the first song on the album. But anyway, it's been heard of before, but they don't play it a whole lot on the radio anymore. It spent about 17 weeks on the chart, and it got about up to number 6 in October 1980. And then another Diana Ross song also charted in 1980, Upside Down. And it was from the same album, Diana, which was produced by Nile Rodgers. I wanted to tell this quick story because I thought it was so awesome that Nile Rodgers and his writing partner from Chic, Bernard Edwards, they spent all this time. Diana Ross wanted them to help her create this album. And they spent all this time with her. And one of the things they did was they went out dancing. So they go to this gay club in New York City, and Nile Rodgers notices that there's all these drag queens, and some of them are dressed up like Diana Ross. So he writes, it's not a coincidence that that's the name of the song, I'm Coming Out. Like, he specifically wrote this knowing she had a gay following.
Okay.
And it just exploded after that. And it's still kind of an anthem in the gay community. But I love that story. I just thought it was so funny how he kind of manufactured it, but out of something real. Yeah, and then this song still is one of my favorite getting ready to go out songs. Like, not at the beginning of getting ready, but when I'm almost ready, and it sort of gives me this extra confidence, like I'm ready. I'm really ready.
Yeah. Like it's game on.
Right, exactly.
What, there's something wrong with Eye of the Tiger?
There is nothing wrong with Eye of the Tiger, but...
Whatever floats your boat, Steve. Whatever floats your boat.
But yeah, so I love the song, and it's... As I was getting ready for this episode, I was thinking about how 1980, so close to 1979, and sort of that bridge where, disco was still very much alive. And I don't even want to say it was petering out, but it was sort of transitioning at this point.
Yeah, it was. You were starting to lose some of the strings and get more horns in their place. Like the orchestration was starting to change, and the tenor of it was starting to change, but it was not gone by a long stretch.
Yeah. Steven?
On my first pick, I will definitely say there are no disco notes in this whatsoever. This is straight from Philly. This is Hall & Oates. Wait for me.
You could go either way. Is it easier to stay? I wonder what you'll do when your chance rolls around. But you gotta know how much I want to keep you. When I'm away, I'm afraid it will all fall down. So wait for me, please. Wait for me, alright. I guess that's more than
So how many people have heard this song before today? Crickets.
Not me. Not me.
No, but when you hear it, it is essential. I mean, it's dripping with Hall & Oates-ness, isn't it? I mean, it's got everything. It's got his peppy little voice. It's got the poppy little synth little notes in there and everything. I love it. And yet I guarantee you I'd never heard this song until like around 3 hours ago. It is the third single off their album Ecstatic. Now, did anyone even know they had an album called Ecstatic?
I did not.
No.
And for the listeners, it is spelled capital X, capital S-T-A-T-I-C.
Right,
like
right.
It is. He's not just pronouncing that weird.
No, it's dripping with 1979-ness, which is, of course, when it was released, it was it eventually would peak out at number 18 in early 1980. This song did. It was the only hit on the album, which shows you what a stinkburger the rest of the album was. To put it in context, the next biggest hit was a song called Who Said the World Was Fair, which topped out at a mighty 110th on the chart. So,
ooh, barely a whisper.
So I'd be curious if anyone who went on the Hall & Oates tour this last year, whether or not they dragged this one out of the attic for one last spin. But I like it. I think it's a fun song. It's gonna be on my playlist from here on out. Brad, what's next on your playlist?
Next up, this one is, I think, a instantly recognizable classic, but I can't remember the last time I heard it on the radio. I think some of this stuff suffers because it's barely 80s and it's not 70s, so it doesn't show up on either of those channels on the Sirius XM, which is where I listen to a lot of my over-the-air music. But enough of my discourse. Let's listen to the smooth stylings of Commodores with Still.
Two people lost in a storm. Where did we go? Where'd we go? Lost what we both had found. You know we let each other down. But then most of all, I do love you still.
Notice I didn't say the Commodores.
I did notice, yes.
Is it just Commodores, not the Commodores?
It is just Commodores. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know.
The whole show on that.
So this came out September 14th, 1979. It was the second single from their Midnight Magic album, and it was the last R&B number one for the group before Lionel Richie left the band.
Oh.
Yeah. This held on to get into the 1980 Hot 100 because it was in the top 10 at the beginning of 1980 and was stayed in the charts for about another 6 weeks. Couple interesting things about this song. One, written by Lionel Richie, and it was not written about a breakup he was going through. It was written about a couple that he was good friends with. And he said in an interview at the time, they decided that marriage was not the thing for them, and they were probably destroying what they had in the first place, which was friendship. So they both sat down and said, listen, we want to be friends. We said some things wrong. We've done some things wrong. Let's get a divorce, and that way we can still be in love and still love each other as friends.
Wow, that truly would not work today.
That's a different song. Yeah. Truly.
Wow, that's I don't know that I never knew that story. Now it's kind of screwing with my head.
Me either, but when you listen to the song, it clicks into place a little bit. Like he's mourning this loss, and the end of it, I do love you, and then there's that still right at the very end.
He's a good writer, that Lionel Richie.
He really is. He really is. The other thing that I think of whenever I hear this song is marching band. Because we played this, I think it was maybe my sophomore year. I don't remember exactly. But there's a point in the song where I'm always like, press box, where the marching arrangement kind of surges up and everyone kind of, picks up and it's a lot louder. Any band geeks out there that played still in marching band, write me a letter and we'll have our little support group.
Was this a popular marching band song?
You know what? It was a fairly popular chart. I know just looking today, I found 2 or 3 circa in mid 80s marching band videos of bands playing it.
Really?
It was just the way I remembered it. It gave me my entire body was covered in goosebumps.
Yeesh.
Wow.
Yeah, it was weird. It was totally weird. It was totally weird.
Save us, Jen, with your next pick from 1980.
Save us. Well, I'm going a little bit more on the disco train here. This is Dim All the Lights by Donna Summer. So I should have said Queen Donna Summer, or Donna Summer, Queen of the Disco. She's the best. I love her so much. Anyway, Dim All the Lights. It wound up at number 74 at the end of 1980, although it was released and charted a whole lot in 1979. Probably more people have heard On the Radio, which is from the same album called...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But what's funny about Dim All the Lights is I don't recognize the title, but then as soon as I started listening to it today, I just felt like a little kid again listening to it on the radio. And I realized it's because I never knew what she was saying. I just had a vague idea it was something about lights and I didn't really get it. But anyway, in my research today, I learned that this was Donna Summer's only hit single that she wrote by herself and that she was going to give it to Rod Stewart, but then changed her mind.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And what I also didn't know is how popular of a disco song this was. It was nominated for Best Disco Recording when that was a category at the 22nd Grammy Awards in 1980. So other people liked it too. But I was listening to it today and I was like remembering what a great disco song it is because it sort of starts very dramatically as though it's going to be a really slow kind of ballad, and then the beat kicks in, and then that's when I just change your choreography on the dance floor or something.
Yeah,
but
you set your drink down and put your mirror with the cocaine remnants on away, and
right
get to work.
I thought you were going to say Rouge, but you didn't go there.
No,
direction.
Right, but it's a cool song, and it's definitely hasn't shaken off that disco vibe yet. She hasn't gotten into her. She works hard for the money kind of thing, which makes me think, Brad, you're actually right because there are no strings in that album, but a whole lot of horns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the album, this is on Bad Girls, that's a double album. And if you look at the track list on that, you're like, oh my gosh.
Hit after hit.
This is just a money machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I also didn't realize that Laura Branigan had a top 40 dance hit in 1995 with a cover of Dim All the Lights. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call myself a Laura Branigan completist either, though.
or partialist.
I know a couple of her songs.
So, Dim the Lights reminds me of skating rinks.
Yeah,
which were huge in 1980. And so, for my second pick, I have to give you what to me is my ultimate memory of roller skating rinks in the early 80s. So, this is the Manhattans with Shining Star. You guys realize the Manhattans had been around since 1962?
Oh my lord. They're older than we are.
Well, technically, there's only one of them that's still alive. The lead singer, Gerald Alston, is the only member from the original Heyday lineup that is still alive. They all did leave pretty long lives and died in their 70s, but this is a band that had been around a while. But yet, in April 1980, they gave us this song, and they would win a Grammy Award for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group, and it was the de facto couple skate song at Super Skate in Clearwater in 1980.
Aw.
God, I'm just picturing you there and the lights and the announcer. This is a couple skate, reverse.
And you remember there was always like the two phases that like when you first started skating, like if you could just skate forward and hold a girl's hand, that was probably the best you could do. But then once you got pretty good and you learned to skate backwards, then you could like really couple skate with a girl. So it's like that. I still remember like the first time I was able to finally like be confidently skate backwards to a couple skate to Shining Star. And it's like just one of those like, you know, and then I became a man.
Is that like the skating version of Third Base?
Well, Third Base may have come later that day. I don't remember. But
well, you know.
Does anybody else remember the Manhattan's other really big hit? It was across the board number one.
Nope.
1976, Kiss and Say Goodbye.
Oh, I do remember that song. I would, in a million years, not have known it was the Manhattans.
Yeah, all this time I thought that Shining Star was by Earth, Wind & Fire. This whole time.
Different song. You're a shining star.
Oh, that's why.
No matter who you are.
So I'm not so off the mark. But the Manhattan Shining Star, it makes a much better couple skate for sure.
Who's up next for top forgotten songs from 1980?
B-Rad.
Go ahead, B-Rad.
I'm going with the marching band theme. If you didn't see this one coming, you just don't know me very well. I give you the one Fleetwood Mac song that I will ever voluntarily listen to, Tusk.
Don't say that you love me. Just tell me that you want me. Just say that you want me. Don't say that you.
I got to admit, when I hear this song, all I think about is the USC marching band.
I know. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It gives and it takes. Because it's a marching band, but it's the USC marching band. So I'm just going to set the USC stuff aside and just rejoice in the band nerdness of it all. This is a title track from their 1979 double LP. Also a late 79 release. It topped out in the charts in November of 79 at number 8, but it stuck around into January, which just squeaked across the line at 94th for the Hot 100 for the year 1980. This song, if you look at the credits for this, there's a lot of weird percussion stuff, but the song credits read Lindsey Buckingham on guitar, Kleenex box, and vocals, and Mick Fleetwood on drums, percussion, and lamb chops.
Nice.
Yeah. Apparently, at one point, they had a big leg of lamb, and Mick Fleetwood was whacking on it with a spatula.
What?
I feel as though there may have been some drugs involved in the recording of this album.
That's pretty possible. So they shot the band part of it and shot kind of a video for the song at Dodger Stadium, empty stadium, and they had the band out on the field. And John McVie, as it turns out, was in Tahiti that day, and so Mick Fleetwood is seen carrying around a cardboard cutout of him and setting it up behind the group while they sit.
I always wondered what was the deal behind the cardboard cutout.
Yeah,
you see it for just a second in the video, and you're like, "Well, what? That doesn't make any sense." But now it makes sense.
Now you know the rest of the story.
So this song also makes for a really good soundtrack over scenes.
Yeah,
TV. Movie scenes. This may or may not be my Last Americans reference on this podcast, but in the first season, I want to say, of Americans, might even have been the first episode, but they are doing some Russian spy stuff, and there's some kind of action going on screen, and Tusk is playing for at least a couple of minutes, probably more. And it is so tense, and it is so cool when you're hearing, it's just a cool song.
It's a great song. Yeah.
Doesn't it seem like it was meant to overlay on
yes.
a movie or a
yeah?
TV
Because there's not that much to it. If you look at the lyrics, it's like, okay, there's nothing there. So it's all about the music.
Yeah.
Who's up next, Jen?
I'll go. So for my last pick from the 1980s, This is a song from an up-and-comer you may have heard of. This is Michael Jackson's Off the Wall.
I love you picked this song because, I mean, when people name check MJ in pre-Thriller, they throw out a lot of songs, but you never hear anyone really talk about this one.
Yeah, I agree. And if you match up, if you like take the song list from Off the Wall and Thriller, like I love Thriller to pieces, but I like more songs on Off the Wall.
Yeah, I will stake out what is sometimes the unpopular opinion that this is a better album. I like it better.
See, I came close to going there, but I couldn't quite do it.
I'll do it. And you want to know why? You want to know why? There's one reason.
Why?
It's that duet with Paul McCartney on Thriller. I hate it.
I'm 11 out of 5.
Oh, God, it is so bad. If you took that,
that's fair.
Somehow you went out and erased that from every copy of Thriller, I'd probably land in the Thriller camp, but I just can't do it with that McCartney duet. It's so barfy.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But a lot of people like this song because it was number 4 on the Billboard chart for the whole year. And it's from, of course, the album of the same name, Off the Wall. It was Michael Jackson's 19th album.
Yikes.
Yeah, he was doing this for a long time. And his first collaboration with Quincy Jones. And it obviously was a good marriage because this album is awesome.
Yeah.
Again, I'm like trying to think, there were some disco elements, especially Don't Stop Till You Get Enough is like would get me out onto a dance floor in a minute.
Oh, yeah.
But this song is like so smooth and mellow, and I love it. And I remember it, and I bet other listeners will recognize this. But whenever I hear it, I can't help but remember the Making of Thriller video. Or, it was like an accompanying to, you could see like all the makeup that was done and stuff. And there's this one little montage of choreography and like people putting on their costumes and stuff. And they play Off the Wall over that part. And that's what I think of every time I hear Off the Wall, is that like little Making of Thriller.
Well, that's obscure. I love that.
That's so cool. That's great. No, that's a great pick. I love this song, and I don't listen to this album enough, so I'm going to pop that in the CD player tonight.
Yeah, and I do wish that they would play that, they being like
the powers that be.
Retro radio, like, not necessarily satellite, but the ones with all the car commercials, that one, that they would play more Off the Wall and lean a little less heavily on Thriller, because there's so many good songs, and I think this one is would be a good car song too. Maybe I'll just put the CD in my car. Yeah. Hell with it.
It's funny you would say that. This is a conversation I have with my family a lot, because when I'm in the car and a countdown comes on, I won't, my rule is you don't change it. Once you realize it's a countdown, you have to stick with it and listen to it, because I think that's where all the interesting songs show up on the radio now, because they're so programmed to give you that top echelon of kind of A-list hits from the decade that you just don't get. You don't get the Off the Wall. You don't hear that Boss Gag song. You never hear the Manhattan. Right. You just don't hear those things unless you're listening to a countdown that it happened to be on there. And I think that's where some of the interesting stuff has kind of fallen into the cracks. It's the only time to hear it.
80s on 8 has those countdowns that they do with the VJs that Nina
that's what I'm talking about.
And Mark do it. Yeah. And when you go back and you listen to 80, 81, 82, yes, you hear these crazy songs that you're like, I can't believe this charted, number 40 in 1980. But then again, that's also why I've kind of also rediscovered, and I listen more and more now these days to 70s on 7, just to hear those songs that gave birth to the 80s sound.
The kind of proto 80s stuff.
So for the last song of our time travel back to the year 1980, here's a forgotten hit that I heard for the first time in a long time just last week. And I couldn't stop singing it the rest of the day. This is Kenny Loggins with This Is It. So do you remember the days when you would buy an album just because the cover looked kick-ass?
Sure.
So Kenny Loggins had a live album that came out just about this time. And it's him wearing like the fuzziest, funkiest sweater you've ever seen. And he's got his furry little beard and his, and he just looks like he's the coolest guy in the world. Circa 1979 to someone who's only 12 years old. But one of the songs on the live album, so I heard it first as a live song, and it plays occasionally today on 70s and 7, is this song. This is it. It was released really late in the year, November 1979. Still did well enough that it's the number 28 song of 1980. And of course, you probably all recognize that that's Michael McDonald in the background providing additional vocals.
Little yacht rock shout out there.
I love me some yacht rock.
If you got Michael McDonald on board, almost yacht rock.
I actually thought this was Michael McDonald forever. Because I don't know, you hear a little bit of Michael McDonald and you're just assume.
It's so distinctive. Yeah, the voice is so distinctive.
This song did pretty well for Kenny. It won the Grammy in 1981 for the best pop vocal performance by a male. If you're wondering what it is about, I have the answer. The song was mainly written, but Kenny was having issues finishing up the lyrics. And ultimately, he was influenced by his father, who was depressed after going through a series of surgeries after having a stroke. And then one day, he just kind of said to Michael, I got it. It's not a love song. It's a life song. And so when you read the lyrics like, know whatever you do, I'm here by your side for once in your life. Here's your miracle. Stand up and fight. So it is an anthem to his father to stand up and fight and to handle these surgeries and let's move on. So it's a great song. I love it. And for some reason, if it comes on, I'll just start singing like a madman. I have no excuse for that whatsoever.
No, that's really nice. I love songs that are on the surface a love song, but it can apply to a friend or a child or a relationship that's not a lover, which is, I don't know. It has a longer life in my book,
Okay, this is the time where we usually do a ham-handed delivery to the Seggies. But today I'm so happy to report that we're back to having Jen's game night.
Woo-hoo!
So cue the theme song.
Shall we play a game?
Okay, so this is good timing for this game because it's all about music and musicians. So great segue into this game. I call it Band-Aid. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go through 5 different categories, and each category is a role in a band. So lead singer, guitar, drums, etc. I'm going to name a person, and you both have to ring in, and you remember how to do that, right?
Use my name.
Use my name.
My name is my passport.
And Steve, you use your name. So that's how we'll play. I'll give you the category. I'll tell you the person, and then you ring in, and whoever rings in first tells me what band they're in.
What band they're? Oh, so you're going to say guitarist, blah blah blah, and we'll have to tell you what band it is.
Exactly.
Okay. Give it a shot.
And if you don't get it right, the other person does have a chance to get a point. And these are all worth 1 point, and I will keep score.
Okay.
So, guys, shall we play a game?
Love to.
All right. The first round is lead singer. Ready?
Yep.
Robbie Gray.
Steve.
Brad.
Steve.
Modern English.
Good. Kate Pearson.
Brad.
Steve.
That was awful close. I'm going to give it to Brad.
B-52s.
And then I'm also going to get a new pen because this one's not working. Okay. All right, moving on. Dr. Dre.
Steve.
Steve.
W.A.
Yes. Exene Cervenka.
Brad.
Brad.
That's X.
All right. And the next one, Cheryl James and Sandra Denton.
Boy, I got nothing.
Either of you?
I got nothing.
No, not ringing a bell.
The answer is Salt and Pepper.
We're idiots.
All right, so we're up to the second round here. It's guitarist, people who played guitars in bands in the 80s. Nancy Wilson.
Steve.
Art. Warren DeMartini.
You're just making up names now.
No, that's a real name.
That's my code name. That's what I check myself in the cruise as.
Warren DeMartini.
Yeah.
No
Either of you?
No idea.
No.
Rat.
I feel okay not knowing that.
I feel vindicated.
All right, the next one. Vernon Reed.
Oh, Brad.
Brad.
That's In Living Color, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Although I don't think it's In Living Color.
Oh, it's
I think
Living
that's
Color.
The TV
That's sorry.
show.
In Living Color was the TV show.
That's all right. And they're commonly
It's
confused.
In Living Color.
The In Living Color. Yep, that's right. All right, next guitarist, George Lynch.
Oh, shoot. I know this one. Oh, you stink, Jen.
Heavy. Go heavy.
George Lynch. God, I know this.
No
People at
idea.
home are going crazy right now. They know this. We give up.
Dokken.
No, I
Okay,
didn't know
you didn't
that.
know that, did you?
I didn't know that.
All right, your final guitarist, Steph Burns.
Steph Burns?
Mm-hmm.
You're just picking genres we don't know.
No, this one you know this band.
Steph Burns.
You may or may not have cruised with this
I
band.
think that's Brad's pseudonym on the 80s cruise.
I'm going to guess... Wait, I guess I have to buzz in first. Oh, wait, you said we've heard him on the cruise.
What? We heard them on the cruise?
You don't lose points for guessing.
Steve?
Brad.
Steve, what's your guess? Okay, Brad, what's your guess?
I'll let Steve come up with his guess.
Okay.
No. It's in and out of my head already.
See, well, I was going to go with somebody else, but when you said someone on the cruise, I'm going to guess that it was the guitar player with Berlin.
No.
Good guess. Wrong. It was Huey Lewis and the News.
Shoot. We're lame. We suck.
That's all right.
That is really hard.
Let's move on to drummers. Drummers are a little easier. I think people know drummers. All right, here we go. Stuart Copeland.
Steve.
Brad.
Steve.
Police.
Next one is Rick Allen.
Steve.
Brad. Shit.
Is it me?
Yeah, it's you, Steve, not Brad shit.
It's Def Leppard.
Yes, sir. Very good. Next one is Gina Schock.
Steve.
Brad.
Steve.
Go-Go's.
Getting skunked.
Bootsy Collins.
Oh, I think I know this one. Steve.
Steve.
Is it Adam and the Ants?
Nope.
No.
Brad, you want to take a guess?
Is it Parliament Funkadelic?
Brad, it is Parliament Funkadelic.
Yes! Okay. Crushed it. It just sounds like the name of an Adam and the Ant drummer.
No. Incorrect.
We don't know this.
History. All right, your last drummer is John Moss.
I should know that. Can you give us a genre?
80s music.
Are they
Brad.
a U.S. band or a U.S. band?
Brad.
Brad.
Go look first.
Good guess, but not right.
Oh, I love how she
Steve?
No, I got nothing.
It was actually one that I knew. Culture Club.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, now that you say that.
I'm on the record as saying I change the station when that band comes on, so I'm not surprised I didn't know that.
But I love Karma Chameleon.
To each
I
his
love
own.
a lot of their songs. All right, here we go. We're getting to bassists now.
Okay, here we go.
Arguably the coolest instrument, but I'm not going to defend that argument. All right, here we go. John Taylor.
Brad.
Steve.
Brad.
Duran.
Also, cutest bassist. All right, moving on. Michael Anthony.
Brad.
Steve.
Brad.
Van Halen.
Come on.
All right. Ready? Benjamin Orr.
Brad.
Steve.
Brad.
The Cars.
The Cars. Ready? Tina Weymouth.
Brad.
Steve.
It's definitely Brad. Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, come on.
All right. Here we go. Ready? Last bassist, Michael Steele.
I got nothing.
This one's tricky. I won't lie. This one's tricky.
Brad.
Brad.
Chicago.
Incorrect. Steve, want to take a guess?
No, that's a good guess, though. I got nothing. I'm sorry.
Michael Steele is the bassist for The Bangles.
Really?
Really? For
That's
realsies,
way
yeah.
too tricky.
I feel pretty good about that category, so I don't care that I got that one wrong.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was expecting a little John Wetton from Asia or Tim Butler from Psychedelic Furs.
I wanted to mix it up, have a mix of genres, a mix of genders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, so this is the final round.
What's the
and
score?
going into it, Steve, you've got 6. Brad, you have 8.
Oh! Okay, I got to defend. Got to go
All
into
right, here we go.
prevent mode here. Just like the New Orleans
Final
Saints.
round. Final round. Keyboards. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Steve Porcaro.
Brad. That's Toto.
It is Toto.
And about a million other bands, but Toto's.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve, I'm surprised you didn't get that one. Okay, here we go.
I would have, but if Mr. somehow magically buzzing in before me.
Mr. Fast Neurons over here.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Jimmy Destry.
Brad. Destry's Midnight Runners.
I almost want to give you 5 points just for saying that. Sadly,
That's not it.
it is not the right band, no. Jimmy Destry, what do you think, Steve?
Jimmy Destry?
Jimmy Destry.
No, I got nothing. I would just be guessing. I'd just be throwing out a name. I don't know anything.
Throw out a name. Just throw out a name.
Throw one out there.
Chicago, I guess. I'm just going to keep saying Chicago.
The answer is Blondie.
Oh, yeah. I couldn't name anything.
Anybody from Blondie except for Blondie? Okay.
Too much.
Charlotte Caffey.
Steve.
Steve.
Let's Go-Go's.
Yep.
Is the Go-Go's. All right. Oh, boy. Magna Furholmen. Use your deductive reasoning, guys. Magna Furholmen. Steve?
Scorpions?
Good guess, but no.
That is
If I hear good guess, I know I'm wrong.
I want to say
Oh,
ABBA.
shit. Steve again.
So, who did you say, Steve? I mean, I'm sorry, Brad?
I said ABBA.
Brad said ABBA.
ABBA?
Okay.
Look, ABBA.
It was so close phonetically. It's actually
Kraftwerk.
Aha.
Oh, shit.
Aha.
Oh,
Aha.
bass player.
Yeah. Aha.
Of course
All
it
right.
was.
So the final keyboardist is Lisa Coleman.
Brad. Prince of the Revolution.
That is correct. Brad, you have 10. Steve, you have 7. Brad, you've won this game of Band-Aid. You have triumphed.
Man.
Arms raised over my head.
Yeah, congratulations.
I'd like to
Good
thank the
game. Good
Academy.
game.
That was
That was fun. I liked that one. I liked that one a lot.
I have a tiebreaker just for funsies if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, saxophone is the category, and his name is...
Okay.
His name is Clarence Clemens.
Oh,
seriously?
Clarence
Yeah.
Clemens.
That was the tiebreaker, just in case.
Just because somebody would have buzzed in and someone would.
Yeah, it would have been a race at that point.
Would have been a
Yeah.
Obviously, it's in excess.
That would have been a good one. That would have been a good one.
That's a
that
good.
could have been.
I like that. That's a fun trivia one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Good, and it's easy to do again too. We could do another.
Right.
Yeah.
There's lots of other musicians out there for us to not know.
Exactly.
I hope everyone enjoyed playing along at home. I hope you weren't screaming too loudly into your iPhone or whatnot. I know we just don't know those bands as well. I apologize. I'm really bad about that. But we'll be back. And if you have ideas for forgotten hits of 1981, that'll obviously be our next one. Send them to podcast@sit80s.com. In the meantime, Jen, Victorious Brad, and the saxophonist from the E Street Band remain here, hopelessly stuck in the 80s.
Stuck in the 80s is a member of the CLNS Media Network. Special thanks to Check Battery Daily for our theme music. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or the CLNS Media mobile app.